Tell me, I'm
No.
straightforward. That didn't happen?
I don't know.
That's gonna happen.
I don't know.
If that didn't happen, it's gonna happen. Okay, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Leo is an artist, singer-songwriter whose dreamlike sound is one of a kind. His distinctly soft, soulful vocals and poetic lyricism are infused with Indian classical singing over pulsating R&B beats that he produces himself. I want to say pop also.
Yeah.
Ish.
Yeah.
Now, his past records gained him recognition by the likes of BBC Radio, Elton John, Maxwell, Diplo, and RuPaul. In 2022, Leo started posting performances on TikTok, mashing up classical Bollywood songs with Western pop. The videos went viral worldwide within the first week, gaining tens of millions of views, an explosion of new fans. His bold, fast choices also made Leo the most Googled person in India. Is this true? That's crazy. That's wild.
Mm-hmm.
Leo is also one of the first South Asian musicians in the world to publicly come out as gay and non-binary. He's a dear friend, my personal TikTok advisor that I absolutely never listen to. And Leo, welcome to What Happened Last Night.
Hello.
I'm so happy you're here. Welcome to the spaceship.
Yeah, this is definitely like a NASA project.
I know.
I feel like we're about to be launched off into the galaxy.
I know. Trust me, like after you're in here for like an hour, it's like, where am I? So I want to start from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So you grew up from a Muslim family in
Mm-hmm.
London, from Lahore. I read somewhere that you'd been singing songs since childhood, but you started off kind of hiding it.
Yeah, I did. I guess I would like imitate my favorite singers, whether it was like Mariah Carey, whether it was Janet Jackson, Celine Dion, like all these like powerhouse vocalists. I would like try and imitate them. Also Asha Bhosle and Lata Mangeshkar and like Bollywood songs and stuff. So I grew up like listening to all that stuff and trying to imitate them.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, am I even any good? Like, what does this sound like? I have no idea. I just used to have fun doing it. So yeah, I used to like sing in the bathroom as a secret. And because the echo is great.
Was it because you wanted to hide it though, or was it just because you were like exploring?
I don't know, a bit of both. I was kind of a bit like, no one in my family did music, so
Okay.
I was just like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. So yeah, basically.
Was it a very I mean, I don't know, my parents weren't really very strict or I don't know, the generic Indian family, but was yours like kind of would they have supported that career?
I don't. Well, yeah, my parents really love and still love me singing like Indian music, and classical stuff and ghazals and stuff like that. Like that is very much a part of like my family tradition because my grandfather, my mum's dad, was like a shire, like he's a poet from Lucknow.
Oh my gosh, wow.
And yeah, so we grew up with a lot of like poetry and mushairas, if you know what they are. It's like poetry recitations,
Oh my gosh,
and
cool.
stuff like that. My granddad, yeah, like has like books of poetry published in Urdu, and so like that kind of creativity was definitely seen as a good thing. Obviously not like dressing up in crazy outfits and getting on stage and doing like pop and R&B stuff. Like that's
Yeah.
kind of a bit like considered lower brow for
Yeah.
them. So I guess it was like creativity was encouraged, and it was appreciated and encouraged,
Yeah.
but not in a Western form.
Yeah.
If
How
that
was
makes
it
sense.
then also like growing up in London but being Muslim and trying to do music with that? Was it annoying at some point that people kept, once you started to do music and you finally came out to your family, was it ever annoying that people kept talking about it all the time?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it was because I was just making music and my family is Muslim, but I don't really practice
Okay.
anything personally. I am kind of just a spiritual being and I've kind of learned a lot about loads of different faith practices and spiritual practices and I kind of incorporate them into my own kind of hybrid spirituality, which takes from so many different things. Boxes have always been a weird thing for me because I don't fit into any box really. And I think that I've always I released an EP a few years ago called Outside In, and the reason for that title was I felt like I was on the outside of the outside of the outside of the outside.
Wow. Okay.
So I feel like I've always been like floating on my own in my own little orbit.
Yeah.
which is just beyond the kind of boxes that society creates for you to pick from to
Yeah.
jump in, and like tries to force you in boxes. But I don't think what I do musically, or my identity itself, or the way that I live my life, um, is really strictly fits into any one box.
Totally.
So, and I think that's kind of like the way that I like it
Yeah.
as well.
I mean, now I know you as having so much courage and being so just like proud to be you, you know? But
Yeah.
how was that for you at a younger age to just like get like how who inspired you to just be like I'm going to be me? Because when I read all these interviews about you, you have such a hero's journey of like finally just stepping into you like
Yeah.
after releasing Fucked Up, and that whole video was beautiful, by the
Thank
way.
you.
But just explaining how you were trying to forgive yourself for essentially being you, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And it's like at that point in your life, like, how did you get the courage to be like, I'm going to just go all in with who Leo right now?
Well, I mean, I think as a child, I was always very much myself.
Yeah.
I was completely unself-consciously myself. And I I was a bit of a rebel child. I was a bit of a rebel teenager. I kind of was just, despite all the kind of bullshit that I experienced in terms of like people making fun of me or like trying to make me be less myself, I just
Yeah.
continued to be myself. And it was only really in adulthood that I started to shrink myself because I don't know, I felt the weight of those boxes that people were trying to force me into.
Yeah.
I kept trying to force myself into those boxes. And then that led me to the place of like where I released something like Fucked Up. And I'd say that when I released that song, that was like what, 2018 maybe, I think I
Yeah.
put that out, or just 2017. That was definitely at the height of me having lost my way from
Yeah.
this like very free, childlike, unself-consciously myself, queer child, like
Yeah.
who just didn't care how I was perceived.
Yeah.
I would say by 2017 I was like very hyper aware of how I was perceived and trying to fit into boxes.
Yeah.
And I think that the journey that I've been on since then has been about getting back to that like child that didn't care how I was perceived.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I don't really know how I got there, but I think
I know, because I'm like, what are the steps? Like, I'm still over here trying to be perceived. Like, I've been thinking about this a lot that, like, it's like how much of what you do in your career or in your day, especially in LA, you know, it's like of it being not for you, but for how you look doing something or how you look being something. And it's like in that space, like, I mean, that was now like what, 10, I want 6 years ago.
Mhm.
Like, that's like a big jump for you to just like be like, okay, no, I'm gonna be like, what, like, I want to know like how you did it.
I guess it was just a step by step thing. I think the pandemic had a lot to do with it,
Okay.
actually, because it was like when the pandemic happened, I thought that that was the end of my career because I was like, what's going to happen now to
Yeah.
like musicians? Like,
Yeah.
what's going to happen? Like, I didn't know what to do. I was actually planning to move to LA literally the year of the pandemic in
Mm.
2020, and then the pandemic happened and halted my plans. And so I was like, oh my God, like I was going to move to LA and now I'm not moving to LA and I was just stuck in London. But what ended up happening is that I experienced a lot of success as a songwriter, as a producer.
Mm-hmm.
And then I experienced a lot of success as an Instagram and TikTok like creator.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it put this like huge spotlight on me, um, which gave me the confidence to, I guess, be my full self. But what had happened prior to that across 2020 and 2021, I guess I just disconnected myself from social media
Yeah.
and really focused on my brain and my body, my voice, my craft. I was practicing my indie classical singing every day. I was working out and doing Pilates and yoga and meditation. I was eating healthy for the first time in like God knows how long. And really, like, the pandemic gave me a chance to like disconnect from the pressures of the world and just be me.
Yeah.
And so when I came back on social media doing Instagram and TikTok, I really honestly thought like maybe 500 people will see this. I really didn't think that anybody would care
Yeah.
beyond people that, I don't know, that already were listening to me. Because I had created like a pretty cool indie career in London as an independent artist, you know. I was getting played on like BBC Radio 1 Extra
Yeah.
and BBC Asian Network and even BBC Radio 1. And I had like little radio stations even in America playing my music, and I had great press and all this kind of stuff. So I'd built this thing, but the huge spotlight that came onto me like through Instagram and TikTok Instagram Reels and TikTok, that was really unexpected.
Yeah.
And I think that the period that I took over the first 2 years of the pandemic to cocoon
Yeah.
and go inwards and sort of like disconnect from social media and just be me without the gaze of the world,
Totally.
like that was what allowed me to then bloom
Yeah.
when I came back.
Yeah.
I don't know if that answered your question.
No, that did. I have 3 questions now
Go on.
to go through this and like the steps of this. So like in London, how did you what was your first initial like steps in the music industry at that time? Like were you just making music in your bedroom and you posted it and then
Yeah, I mean, I've been releasing music since 2015, 2016, and before that I was on SoundCloud, and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, I guess I made little demos, threw them onto the internet. People noticed, music industry execs noticed, like managers noticed, and I ended up with like various managers along the road. But yeah, that was how I entered the music industry there. I come from like a little part of South London where there's a lot of musicians and a lot of
Yeah.
artists, and you know, there's a lot of I don't know, musicians come from a specific little pocket of South London that I'm from, Southwest London in particular. And I think it's because the Brit School is there, and a lot of
Okay,
huge
okay. Yeah,
stars have
nice.
gone there, like Adele and Amy
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Winehouse, and loads of people have like emerged from the Brit School. So I
Yeah.
think there's just a little organic community of like producers and songwriters and stuff there, and I ended up working with people. I've rubbed shoulders with people like this along the way. I built
Yeah.
a little ecosystem of my own, um, sort of like co-collaborators and stuff like
Yeah.
that who I made music with.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was just a case of throwing it onto the internet, and yeah, just things connecting in their own strange,
Yeah.
magical little way.
I want to ask you about like your time in London because you said something in an interview once. Like you said, you were like now on global viral chart on Spotify, playlists on BBC Radio,
Yeah.
more than 1 million plays on SoundCloud, sold out headline shows, and you started gaining at that time attention from labels and managers
Yeah.
and things. And I do believe that if you're chasing this, you have to like know what you want, you know?
Yeah.
So I do believe like you knew what you want, like you wanted this thing, but you were meeting with labels and said that one of the labels you overheard them saying, yeah, Leo Kalyan, it would be so much easier if he was white. What
Yeah.
was the racism you were facing in the UK at that time? And do you feel like it's still like that in the industry there? Or was it just a timing thing?
I think that for South Asians within the music industry in the West, like
Mm-hmm.
we haven't really established an identity or a position here. And I think that we often get shoved into this space,
Yeah.
which is between like white artists and black artists. And like, I feel like we have yet to establish our identity within the Western music
Yeah.
ecosystem.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of people and labels don't really know what to do with us.
Yeah.
And I think that we have so few like role models. There's only like what MIA, Joy Crooks maybe. There's a few people here like
Yeah.
Ravina's doing
Yeah.
well. You know, but historically, like when I think of like big successful South Asian acts, who is there? There's Jay Sean,
Yeah.
there's MIA, Jay Paul maybe.
Yeah.
But
I mean, you know me, I can go off about this for
well,
hours.
the fact is that we just don't have a business model to follow. So I think that like a lot of the struggle that I faced was I was creating like a lot of heat and momentum on my own, but there was no way of that elevating to the next stage.
Yeah.
And who knows like where things go. Like
Yeah.
nothing is given in a creative career. Like nothing is you're not entitled to anything. Like
Yeah.
things just happen Things
Yeah.
come from things. And all you can do is just keep putting out the best music possible.
Totally.
And I believe that like it'll find its audience.
Yeah.
So I mean, I look back at that time and it is what it is.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if it's racism or whether that's such a heavy word. I think it's just lack of a business model.
Yeah.
And the music industry is quite a, paint by numbers kind of thing. They seem to repeat patterns.
Yeah.
So when you don't have a pattern to repeat, what do you do?
Yeah, no, totally.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. What do you feel like, I mean, out of all of it, I mean, I know there's so many things that could have been a challenge just because of being outside of the box, but what for you do you feel like was like your biggest challenge of the whole
Well,
journey?
like I said to you, like I'm out on the outside of the outside of the outside.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not just South Asian, but I'm also queer.
Yeah.
I'm not just queer, I'm also non-binary, but like,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? So there's like all these little nuanced
Yeah.
details.
Yeah.
And I think that people just love boxes that they can fit you into, and when you
Yeah.
don't fit into boxes, that's the difficulty, the
Yeah.
challenge.
Yeah.
So like, how do you convey yourself, or how do you like communicate who you are on your own terms without people constantly trying to push you
Yeah.
into
And
a
I mean, I
certain
feel like
place?
you did that. You just full on were like, I'm going to be completely me and utilize social media and TikTok and build my own like foundation and just do it myself.
I wasn't even thinking that.
But that's what's so beautiful about
Yeah,
it.
I genuinely was not even considering that. I was just being myself. And like I said, over the pandemic, I was able to be myself completely fully with no one watching me.
Yeah.
And then when I came back on social media, I was unself-consciously myself in that very 7-year-old me way. And I think that's really the triumph of that's the thing that I'm most proud of in my
Yeah.
life, is being able to find my way back to that little kid who
Yeah.
didn't care what anybody said or felt or thought about the way that I act, the way that I look, the way that I dress, or even how good or bad I am at what I do. I'm just loving being a playful little kid again.
Yeah.
And I just don't care what anybody thinks.
Yeah.
And that's actually the triumph of my life, I
Yeah.
would say, because I never thought I would be able to get back to that place.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize that I'd ever gone off track from that place.
Yeah.
But looking back now, it was everything that I went through in my personal life and my professional life led me off that path of who I actually am
Yeah.
when no one is looking at me or perceiving me. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
No, totally. Who do you think was I feel like we all can't do this alone. I know
No.
I haven't been able to. And there's been so many people along the way that gave me the little nuggets along the way.
As in other artists and the
Other
people who
artists, some other
inspired you?
artists, but just people who have become mentors or people who saw me when I didn't see myself and kind of gave me um, just that little push you needed at times when you stopped remembering like how special you actually are, you know? Was there anyone in your life around, like, what was your family supportive during this whole time when you like really started doing music and putting yourself out there? Or who was your inner circle at this whole time?
Me, yeah. Like ultimately, like yes, I'm inspired by
Me.
so many. Like I had to push myself to do it
Yeah.
because, like I said, there was no one to look up to.
Yeah.
There is no one to look
Yeah.
up to. That I just had to push myself to do it. I think as a queer person, you are forced to do that. Like
Yeah.
you're forced to be your own kind of anchor and shoulder to lean on. You just have to like
Yeah.
build that resilience.
Totally.
And I think that's what makes queer people like some of the strongest people on the planet, is because we go through so much crap basically. And what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty strong now. So
Well, I look up to all of it in you because even the first time I met you, I was just like, how confident, how bold, how just so self-aware, you know?
wow, thank
And
you.
that's like so important to be, and so many people are not. So like I absolutely love that about you and I admire that.
Thank you.
And I'm asking because I'm like, how can I be more like this?
Honestly, I mean, I don't know. I don't know where the hell it comes from, but it's
Yeah.
just a desire to create space for myself in this world and other people like me.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I really don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I want to know about your like social life and your love life through all of this big journey of Leo.
What would you like to know?
Oh my gosh. Okay. What was your first? I mean, I think your music is inspired by love.
I was in a very long relationship in the UK, and it
Mm,
was a really beautiful relationship, and it was really, really amazing. And I'm in LA now,
I know.
so
That's my last question.
that's not so like. But when I look back at that relationship, I'm just filled with so much joy because we had such a happy time, and I was really
Mm,
lucky to have a very, very, very supportive and loving and wonderful relationship.
yeah.
And when I think of like when you ask me a question like that, I think of that.
Yeah.
And even though we're no longer together, like that experience has shaped me entirely.
Yeah.
And the support that he gave me and the relationship that he had with my family and like the amazing life that we had together
Yeah.
was like, I don't know, it was really, 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 really formative for me. I don't think I could have become myself fully without that kind of support. Um, so yeah, I'm grateful
Wow.
for it.
Oh,
But yeah, like love is an amazing thing.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, who knows where life is gonna go.
Yeah.
Um,
So tell me about this whole what I mean, I know that you're here, so I'm pretending like I don't. But like what made you be like, I'm gonna go to LA now and I'm gonna leave London?
well, I had been coming here for songwriting trips since 2017, 18. I'd
Mm-hmm.
been coming like every year to like write and produce, and I'd worked with so many people from LA in London as well, because I'm a songwriter and a producer for lots of other artists behind the scenes, and I've been
Yeah.
doing that like since way back when.
Yeah.
I've earned my stripes as a songwriter and a producer
Yeah.
for other artists, and um I just knew that LA was the epicenter of entertainment
Yeah.
and music, especially. And every time I visited, I had such positive meetings and positive, like, recording sessions with people. And I just knew at a gut level that, like, coming out here would help me connect dots in a way that I couldn't in London.
Yeah.
And obviously the nature, the weather, the lifestyle, the green
Yeah.
juices, all that
The
shit.
green
Like
juice.
the green juices and the Pilates life, like
Yeah.
it's all a bit of me.
Yeah.
So I kind of was just like, it's time for a new adventure. I'm from London,
Yeah.
so that's also just home. And
Yeah.
sometimes
I
when
was like, Leo, what I'm gonna go to London and you were like, no, stay here.
well, there's just like this is where everything
Yeah.
is. Do you know what I mean? In
Yeah.
terms of music and entertainment.
Yeah.
So this is the best place to be in the world for
Yeah.
that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I think that yeah, like I think that where better
Yeah.
could you be? Like every all the best people that I know from London, like the best artists and musicians and stuff, like producers and
Yeah.
writers, they are either they're here a lot or they've moved here.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
that's what
Well, I
I
have two more questions before we go into rapid fire.
do.
Um, what would you tell your younger self? Like, what's the one thing out of everything you've learned now and everything you've overcome that you would go back and actually tell your younger self to help you along the way? And then what's the one thing you would say as advice to someone else out in the world right now who's looking up to you and wanting to follow some kind of path similar to yours?
Okay, so my advice to my younger self would be to live in the moment and don't worry about the future or the past. Because I spent a long time,
Mm,
you know, not being present and not enjoying the moment
yeah.
and just plagued by thoughts of like what might happen in the future and what did happen in the past
Yeah.
and how those things like affect that, that takes you out of the present moment.
Yeah.
And I think that I think me, like everybody else, like so many people in the world, like you're constantly yanking yourself back into trying to live fully in the now.
Yeah.
So that's the one piece of advice I'd give my younger self, because I feel like I do that not all the time now, but more than I ever did.
Yeah.
And I spent a long time wasting like my brain energy into worrying about things that you can't
I mean,
control.
I think that kind of goes into the living for the perception
Yes,
of others
very
in
much
so
so.
many ways. I
Very
mean, I
much
just
so.
had that whole realization in life in the
Yeah.
past maybe 6 months. I've
Yeah.
I've been really thinking about how to live authentically, and I
Mm.
mean, LA is so like live authentically and be true and la la la, but it's like no, actually, like, am I living authentically, or am I have I been living for this future version of me that I hope everyone will see and validate
Yeah.
and perceive me as?
Well, the future is now.
Exactly.
It's happening.
Yeah.
Like the future is happening every
Yeah.
second. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the truth is that if you are able to let go of worrying about what may happen, what may not happen, how things might go, how they might not go, whatever, then you just get to enjoy what you're doing
Yeah.
right this second
Yeah.
and put your all into it as
Yeah.
well, which is a hard thing to
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
It's really
I mean,
difficult.
it takes practices now. I learn as you get
Absolutely.
older, it takes more discipline. It takes more discipline to
Yeah.
be creative, and it takes more discipline to be sane and peaceful
Hmm.
inside of yourself so that you can come out into the world and be the version of you that everyone deserves and that you deserve to be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. We owe it to ourselves to go on that journey,
Yeah.
you know.
Okay,
Um,
second advice.
oh, second,
Advice to someone out in the world who wants to follow a path similar to yours in the career that you've had.
um, I would say don't take no for an answer. Don't give up on your dreams even when you are going through the toughest of shit. Um, I would say skill yourself up, make
Mm.
yourself as good as you can be at like whatever it is that you want to do. Um, you know, I think people can look at what I've done and be like, oh, I want to do that. But there's a lot of hard work that goes into
Yeah.
it. You know, none of this comes without the slog and the grind and all of the kind of like time and effort that I've put into making myself the best vocalist I can be, the best music producer I can be, the best songwriter I can be. And I'm committed to like still improving those things because I'm
Yeah.
still not the best that I can be fully in my whole life. Like, you know, by the time I get to whatever 60, 70, I hope to
Yeah.
be even better than I am now.
Yeah.
But like, I think you have to have a real commitment to your craft,
Yeah.
whatever your craft is. And I think that is the advice that I'd give more than anything else, because you can't be um, relentlessly pursuing something without relentlessly putting in the work that's
Yeah.
required. Um, I think it's like, I think Oprah said, like, good luck is preparation meets opportunity.
Hmm.
And life throws a lot of opportunities at you, but if you aren't prepared to like meet them head on,
Yeah.
then you're not going to get anything out of it.
Yeah.
So work hard and become as good as you can be at what you do.
What is going on with music now? You just released some singles.
I have a ton of new music coming, and probably by the time this podcast comes out, some of that music will be in the world. But I've been working on what I would describe as the best music that I've ever made. I feel like every phase that you're in making music, you say that, but I really feel like I've found this wonderful blend of East and West.
Yeah.
Especially like after all the success that I've had on social media,
Totally.
that's like taught me a lot about blending those two worlds, because that's what my TikToks and Instagram stuff was all about. It was about like
Yeah.
exploring those common areas between like Indian music, African music, Latin music, and like trying to find the intersections where they all meet. And I feel like I've been able to do that in my original music now, and I'm just really excited to share it with the world
Is it
because
some of the stuff I heard in the car that day?
yes.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Okay, yay.
Yeah, so it's pretty exciting, and I'm just so proud of it. I don't care.
And you're producing all of it yourself, or are you working with other people?
I produce or co-produce.
Okay.
I do work with other people
Yeah.
as well because, to be honest, I can do everything myself.
Yeah.
I record all my own vocals and produce all my own
Yeah.
stuff, and I finish everything and I co-produce stuff. But it gets boring to just do it solely 100% by yourself. Like,
Yeah.
music is meant to be made by different people in a room. Like, you know, it's very unnatural to be doing it all by yourself. even though I can and taught myself to do that. But but yeah, I'm producing it, and it's super fun, and I'm super proud of it. And whatever happens with it, I'm just proud that I got to a place where I was able to create this sound that I've been kind of imagining my whole life. So yeah,
I love that. That's
I'm
so
so
exciting.
excited. Yeah, no,
I
it's
love
very
that.
exciting.
That's how I feel about my last record, and it feels good. Now that it's done, though, I will tell you that now I'm like, oh, what am I supposed to do next? Because I feel like I was working my whole life to make that record.
You push
And it's
yourself
all,
to go
and then,
further.
yeah, then I'm like going
You
further.
know, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I still haven't stopped. I've literally got like a tank of music,
Oh my
like
gosh.
so much stuff that's coming out, and I'm still just always writing. I just
Love
love the process of making music.
Yeah.
Like making music is my favorite part of this
Whole thing.
whole
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, I just love. I love like coming up with melodies and creating beats, and finding words that match the feeling of certain chords, and like that's the most exciting and thrilling and like invigorating part of the whole process.
Yeah.
And when the song comes together, there's no feeling quite like it.
Love it.
And to be honest, like that's probably what has kept me going. Like
Yeah.
to come back to answer a question that you asked me earlier, like what keeps you going, or what keeps you moving forward, or whatever.
Yeah.
It's that, like
It's
the
music.
sheer exhilaration that you get from like making songs. It's so fun and exciting. And I think all performers have their own like thing that they love the most.
Yeah.
For some people it's like being on stage.
Yeah.
For some people it's a relationship that they have with their fans. Whatever it might be, but for me it's the studio process and the songwriting process and the music making process.
Yeah.
It's what I'm most excited by and what I'm most proud of. So
I can't wait to hear it. Well, I've heard some of it, but I can't wait to hear all of it.
oh, there's more.
I
There's
know,
more.
I
You've actually only
I
heard.
feel like I've heard like 3.
Yeah, you've heard like that's it. You haven't heard that many, but like
okay, maybe we can play it now in the studio.
Yeah, I'll play you some. Play you some.
Okay, love it. What's like the new Leo LA life? What's your like daily life now?
My daily life.
What's
oh
like
God.
a typical day in the life of Leo's LA life?
Oh my God, every day is different. I do a lot of different things. In terms of like making music for myself, making music for other
Yeah.
people, making content, doing photo shoots, obviously enjoying everything that LA has to offer in terms of like hiking and road trips
Yeah.
and going to the beach and like, discovering all these amazing new places to eat and stuff. I came here because I wanted to go on an adventure.
Yeah.
And I'd had my fill of the adventure of London.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I wake up and the sun is shining. Well, not today. It's raining today.
I know, it's raining outside, I know.
Ironically, but but I wake up and the sun is shining like 360 days of the year.
Yeah.
And there's just you can do anything. You can go anywhere, and yeah, I don't have a typical day. Every day is different, and that's part of the magic also of being a creator or like a creative. So I'm grateful for that as well. I
love that
hate
you're
routine.
here. I'm happy you're here.
Thank
It's
you.
so good. Okay, you ready for rapid fire?
Let's go.
Last thing you Googled.
Oh, the last thing I Googled was a seafood restaurant that I went to last night. That is, genuinely. I mean, I can look at my phone, but that's the last thing I remember Googling.
Okay.
Or the address to this place.
Okay, yeah. The sexiest thing someone has ever done for you.
The sexiest?
Yeah.
Oh, God. Okay, what do I say?
Oh,
Like,
I don't know. It doesn't have to be like that sexy, I guess.
I guess acts of kindness, like, that's really sexy to me.
Yeah.
My ex used to bring me coffee, like, every single morning.
Oh, I love that.
That was really sexy.
That's very
It's
hard
very
to
nice.
find
Yeah,
these days.
it is hard to find.
Are you dating now? Yes or no?
I'm dating everybody right now.
Everybody.
Everyone.
Online or old school?
A bit of both,
Yeah.
bit of both. Like, I'm in a new city. I like to keep my options open.
Love it. All-time most inspiring human to you?
Oh, wow.
I
Okay,
know.
all-time most inspiring human.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a hard one.
I know.
I would say there's so many people that inspire me endlessly.
You can say a couple.
I would say
One is hard, I know.
I would say Asha Bhosle.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
actually. I think
Why?
she's super
I
inspiring.
mean, she's awesome.
Well, her vocals,
Yeah.
and she was a rebel in her own life, and she changed the way that music is in India.
Yeah.
Like, she really brought like a new thing. Like, she was also in the shadow of her sister, Lata Mangeshkar, but she like carved her own path, and I think that's all really inspiring. She
Yeah.
left home at a young age and ran away and got married and just like did her own thing.
Oh my
and
God, cool. I
yeah,
didn't know that.
she did a bunch of stuff like, yeah, I find her story really, really inspiring, and I guess I love her vocals and I've learned so much listening to her. I would say George Michael,
Okay.
definitely.
Nice.
Also because he's like, you know, a queer gay artist who didn't play by the rules and did everything his own way, and was a songwriter and a music producer, and yeah, just paved the way for people like me to exist. I would say that's someone who actually gave me a lot of like inspiration and was a role model in many ways.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say
Okay.
that's two.
What are your top 3 red flags?
My top 3 red flags.
I mean, for me, it's like if they have an Android or like no.
Oh, okay. Oh,
or
I
if they have a
see.
kid.
Okay. Well,
Even though I date all.
those are two very, like, I would say those are maybe they're red flags. I would say Geminis.
Oh shit. Okay.
Geminis, red flag.
Me too. I'm adding that to my list.
I would say, I don't know, anybody who talks without listening. That's a big red flag.
Yeah.
And I think people who don't love animals.
Whew.
That's
a
red flag.
great one. That was such
Right?
a good answer.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I love that.
Like,
Okay.
so, and it's like, if you don't like animals, or you can't be kind to animals,
Yeah.
then it's like, what's going on with you?
Oh my God, I love it.
You know?
Okay, we're going to do the What Happened Last Night game.
Okay.
You have a story for me.
Yes.
For everyone who doesn't know, the What Happened Last Night game is a guest has to tell me a story of something crazy that happened last night, and I have to guess if it's true or false.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be last night.
So, last night, Elton John came over to my house to, like, basically give me some career advice.
I feel like that would have happened to you.
Did it?
I don't
You'll never know.
know. I'm going to say true. What? Do you have to tell me if
No,
it's true or false?
I'm
If
not
that
even-
didn't happen,
I don't know.
that's going to happen.
I don't know.
If that didn't happen, that's going to happen. Okay, well, thank you
I'm gonna
so
say
much.
nothing.
You're going to say nothing?
I'm gonna
Well,
let
thank
you
you.
ponder it.
Okay. I'll be up at night texting you. Being like, did he? What did he say? Well, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you
We
so
really
much for
appreciate you
having me.
coming,
This was so
and,
fun.
Yeah, I love you.
I
And
love you too.
I love that we're neighbors.
I love that
Come
we're
to the beach
neighbours.
anytime.
Exactly. Let's go. Let's go.
Yes.